Crafty Peeps, welcome to our June tutorial for our Prima Craftology box for June. I'm so excited. We're going to be using the paper collection called Vintage Emporium. Here are some of the things that you're going to need. Obviously, you're going to need your stuff in your Craftology box, like your score tape, your papers, but some additional items you're going to need is an envelope punch board, and one 12 by 12 piece of chipboard that I have already pre-cut, and I'll give you those measurements once we get to it. Some ink dye if you want to ink your pages, and I have right here just a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock, and I think that heavy duty should work pretty good. If you don't want to, you could use we're going to make an envelope box, and you could just actually make your envelope box with just your one piece of paper, and the one I'm using is called Maestro, and I've already cut it off. So okay, so let's get started. We don't want to waste any time because I think you can make several of these in a day. So this is basically a little photo album box. So you're going to take your 12 by 12 piece of paper and you're going to score it at 9 1/8 by 9 1/8, and then cut on those score lines. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm sorry for the lighting may not be the best in here because it is a rainy, cruddy day again here in Texas, which we're supposed to have rain all week, so that's no fun. And here we go. And that's all you're going to need your scoreboard for the moment. Now we're going to start our envelope box. Let's see here. So you're going to do your first score line and punch at 4 1/8 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and punch it. I'm going to do it twice because my punch board is old and I need to get a new one. I'm going to go ahead and score that, and then I'm going to move it along to the 5 1/8 inch, which is the very last little indentation here, and I'm going to score again. No need to punch right here. Okay, then I'm going to turn it counterclockwise, and I'm going to go back to the 4 1/8 punch and score. I'm sorry, every time I punch it shakes the camera, but I had to, told you it was funky, so I'm going to just cut that off there. Okay, I'm going to go back to the 5 1/8 here and do my second score line. So this basically leaves a 1 inch gusset, and they're going to do the same for all sides. 4 1/8 and punch, score. Make sure that's down there good. I'm telling you, I really need to get a new one of these. I lost one of the springs on it, so I don't know where it went. Okay. 5 1/8. Score. Back to the 4 1/8. And then 5 1/8. Score. And now we have all our edges. So now at this point, you can turn it around and punch your edges to make your rounded corner. Okay. Now, you're going to see these little lines right here. I'm going to go ahead and cut. And I'm going to cut that off on all the sides. And cut. And that'll be my last one. And then, there we go. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and see this little edge right here that's not rounded. I'm just going to do a tiny little, I want to round it just a little bit. Okay, so at this point, if you want to ink your edges, you can go ahead and do that now. I'm just kind of using a brown color because so now I'm going to do the same thing with my Maestro paper. Nine and 1/8. By 9 and 1/8. And I'm just going to repeat those same steps of making the envelope for this one too. And we will actually cut it apart, but I need the rounded edges, and I think it's important to get that done. But anyway, for video time's sakes, I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. So now your envelope should look something like this. And at this point, you're going to go ahead and cut on all the score lines first, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. I think I may just, there we go. I think I just may do this all like at once in this part, and then come back and do the smaller ones because I want my square really nice. So I'm just like basically lining it up right to the edge so that I get that perfect square. And then I'm just double checking to see if I have any ridges. And I will go ahead and ink all the corners on this one. And then on this piece, I have some extra like stuff here that I want to cut off. I really need a new blade. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Okay. So then I'm going to line it up to my brown cardstock, okay? And I see that I still need to take off probably about another 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to check that first. I'm going to line it up, make sure it's straight. and looks even. And I'm going to cut that. So this way, I still have the edge of my envelope in there. You may have to cut a little bit off on these edges too. Like I'm going to probably do the same thing where I basically do just a tiny bit. I don't know if you can see that, but it's a hair. Okay. And then I'm going to round my edge again. This should be right, but I may be wasting my time rounding my edge. Let me just double check. Yep, that looks pretty perfect. So it's going to look something like this when you're done. Okay? And then you'll just keep on doing that on all your edges to trim off the excess score lines, and then you will ink all your edges. And then I'll be back again for video sake's time, because otherwise this video could end up being really long. So I will be back once I finish this cutting and inking all the edges, and then we'll get to the next step. Hello, I'm back. So actually part of my tutorial did not save, and so I have to kind of show you on one of these boxes. But basically, as you saw, I was cutting these pieces off for my second box that I was making, and what I ended up doing was, so you'll see, I went ahead and taped them on the sides and then on the top and on the bottom. But before I taped the bottom, you're going to see on this piece, I went ahead and added a magnet. Now if you want to use Velcro, you're going to go ahead and put your paper on first and then put the Velcro on the top. But in this instance, since I'm using a magnet, I'm going to go ahead and put the magnet down first and then tape it. Now I did take one of my extra pieces, because you'll only have 4 and you really need 5 because you need to do the inside of the box too. So what I did was I took one of the pieces and I just traced it and then cut around it and then went ahead and inked it, and I have my tape and I'm going to put my glue on the back too. So here on this piece, so you'll see that I went ahead and I took my square and went ahead and taped it in here on the inside. And then I went ahead and added tape on the edge here and tape on the edge here, glued my magnet down, attached my paper, okay, and then attached the paper here and here, and then it would be looking something like this, okay. And then I went ahead and taped it down. So I'm sorry, it may be easier to do your tape here. It's up to you. You could either do the tape on the edges here, like here, but don't go all the way up to the corner. On one of them you can, but on the second one don't. Or no, you can. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm crazy. So yeah, go ahead all the way from here to here around this little edge, and then fold it over. And then so now it's going to look something like this. Okay. So my little extra pieces that I had on it, I went ahead and took a full sheet, and not a full sheet, but my leftover scraps, and I went ahead and cut them down to a 1/2 inch by 5 1/8, okay, and I did 5 strips. So you're going to need 1 on the inside and then 4 on the outside. So I'm going to go ahead and attach those. Now, I did see a tutorial for this, so I don't want you to think that I got this on my own. I did not. There was another wonderful lady, and I'm not really sure where she was from, but it wasn't in English. And so, and I don't even know if she used the same measurements as me, to be honest with you. I just kind of saw what she was doing and wanted to recreate it. Let me get some of these out of the way. Oops, I see that edge is not down. I must have missed a little bit of tape there, so that's one thing. Got to make sure your tape gets down to your edges. And I had to stop and save some of the video because I was worried after it after it didn't save the first time. I want to make sure it did this time. Okay, I don't know, for some odd reason it's being a stinker. I'm going to use my glossy accents. Hold on one second. There we go. Now it's down there good. I'm going to go ahead and put this here just for the moment to make sure, since I use glossy accents and that doesn't dry really fast. Okay. And that's because I need to make another hole in my glue. So there we go. Now I'll be ready with my glue. Okay, one more thing. Oh yeah, I was going to make another strip. So, give me 1 second. And then you take your bone folder and press out any excess glue, which you probably won't have any if you did it really thin. And then, as I was saying in my video before, which got deleted, or whatever, it just didn't save it. I have no idea. It went into Never Never Land. Especially on the parts where I have the magnet, I definitely used glue on these pieces to make sure that it stayed. And again, I'm gonna turn it around this way again so I can make sure it's lined up straight. And the one thing I love about glue is that it's forgiving and it allows you to move your paper around before placing it down completely. And I probably should have moved this up a little bit higher. Let me see if I can do that. Okay. Make sure to get around that edge there. Like it's still lifting here because I didn't get it down. I didn't get it far up enough. So I'm going to go ahead and do a big glob of glue there. And I'm going to take my little clothespin to hold it down so that it will dry. Okay, so now we have this part of our box done, which is perfect. So again, we don't need to decorate the back of it because this is going to be lying flat on our little box piece that we're going to make. So this is where we get into, I used one 12 by 12 piece of chipboard. You do not have to use chipboard. You could use a cereal box. You could use an old mailing box. That is completely up to you. I just happen to have a leftover piece of thin chipboard that was on the back of my Authentique mini album that I just made. The 12 by 12 paper pad had a nice sturdy size of chipboard. So I'm like, hey, why not? Okay, so you're going to need two squares at 5 3/8 by 5 3/8. Okay, so you're going to need two of those. You're going to need two at 1.5 by 5 3/8. And then you're going to need two at 1 1/8 by 5 3/8. Okay, so you'll have two for 6 pieces of chipboard. So at this point, you're going to need your paper that you're going to use to cover this up. And I'm going to use the same craft cardstock. And for me, this is what I'm going to do, because I only need, I mean, I don't want to have too much folding over, okay? I don't know how to describe that, but basically I'm going to score it. I'm going to score both of these at 1 inch. Okay. And I know this seems strange, but it'll make sense in a minute. And at 6 3/8. Okay. And then at 7.5. At this 7.5 inch line, this is where you're going to cut it off, okay? Because that's just excess. You don't need it. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to score at 1 inch. 6 3/8. And I think it was 7.5. Yep. 7.5. Okay, and now I'm going to cut off those extra pieces here. And toss them. I save so much paper that I have dozens and dozens. All of these are perfect size for belly bands, I will say that. But I have dozens and dozens of pieces of paper. Okay. Now, this is up to you again. Either you can glue this together, okay? But I'm not going to do that because I want to use my score tape. I trust my score tape. It's strong. So I'm going to, at this point, oops. And if you have bigger score tape, you'll probably only need to do it once. But since I'm using the smaller one that came in the kit, be sure, even if you go over a little bit, that's okay. You can cut it off. Not a big deal, okay? I'm going to do one more. I'm going to go ahead and burnish in my edges really good and cut off the excess. And you know it wants to stick to my fingers too, right? Crazy. Okay, sorry guys. I know it seems like I disappeared, but I didn't. Oops, see? It came off my finger and right back onto the paper. Lovely. Okay. So you're going to go ahead and peel those off. And then you're going to, because I want to make sure I got this right. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put it right to the edge of that piece of tape. Uh-oh. Yep, don't put it down yet. Just make sure you got it lined up properly, because you want the score indentions to line up. Oops. And burnishing your edges on both sides. Okay. Alright. Now this is the fun part. And everybody's like, oh, I hate this part. A lot of people do. Okay, so there's only one piece, and this is one of the fatter ones. This is the 1.5 inch. You're going to put this one to the side. But the other ones, you're going to leave about an inch gap, and you can actually this is what I'm going to do. This makes it easier for me so that I line up everything straight. Okay? This is just my little helper trick. Okay, so I'm going to score it at 1 inch right here. Okay? So I know that it's going to go here. Then my edge, my thinner one, is going to go here. Okay? And I'm leaving a 1/8 inch gap. If you put your piece of tape like Tamara shows in her videos, you should be fine. Then you're going to go ahead and do your square again. Then you're going to do your skinning edge again. And then your fatter, slimmer piece, shall I say, your 1.5 inch by 5 1/8 is going to go on the end. So then you have all this extra left over, right? And I'm guessing this is about, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and cut off 3 inches because I don't need it and it's going to be in my way and that's going to drive me crazy. Okay, so go to my 3 inch line. And cut. Oops, sorry. Ah. Okay, then I can toss that in the trash. Okay. Now here's my little score line. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to put your score tape all along the back of each of these, okay? And that's what I'm going to do, and then I'll be right back. If you want to, you can put your score tape, if you have 1/2 inch score tape, you could do your 1/2 inch all the way around and then use your glue in the center. That way you're not using up so much tape. But definitely you want the tape around the edges for sure because you want the cleanest and strongest adherence. And to me, glue does not work as well. In my opinion, as doing it the other way. But I will be right back.